Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to my show, High Road to Humanity. In every episode, I tell you powerful true stories filled with great wisdom that you can use in your own life as you strive for a higher road to travel. My featured guests will have their own unique stories to tell that enlighten your mind and your soul. So kick back, relax, and learn the secret to success when you take the high road.
First touch, strong connection, it lays deep in your soul.
Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And guess who I have here today? Kristy Robinett is here, and she has written a book for Empaths, and it's not even out yet, you guys. It's not out till February 8th. Welcome to High Road to Humanity, Kristy.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited you're here. Let me just give you guys a little bit of information of what this is about. So she says, when you feel alone in a crowded world and the weight of negativity is overwhelming, this book lifts you up and shares the secrets to both surviving and thriving as an empath. All you empaths out there, man, you got to share the show. Down to earth and easy to use, Embrace Your Empathy reveals the many gifts of being empathetic and how using them can heal both yourself and those around you. And that's what we're going to talk about today, you guys. So I'm really excited that she's here and on the show. This is one of the best books, and I told her, that I've ever seen on empath. So if you're an empath, I'm going to get one for both my kids because I'm an empath and my kids are empaths. They're grown adult ladies, but they're both empaths. And this will help anybody who's an empath. But before we get going on this, since this is High Road to Humanity, I pulled this up, you guys. Here's the headline. Virginia I-95 winter storm disaster leaves hundreds stranded. This is unprecedented. Now, so the Virginia Department of Transportation is warning drivers to stay away from Interstate 95 Tuesday morning so crews can free up hundreds of drivers who remain stranded or in slow-moving traffic in temperatures well below freezing. In what officials are describing as an unprecedented event, apparently, the situation currently unfolding in Northern Virginia comes after a winter storm dumped about a foot of snow, you guys, and toppled trees across the Fredericksburg region Monday. So as of right now, Interstate 95 remains closed northbound and southbound between exits, blah, blah, blah. But you guys, this is nuts. There's a picture. I should be more graphic, but look at this. I mean, these guys are like, it's crazy. So crazy weather we got going on. Hey, and I dealt with a little bit of that with traveling you guys to Michigan to see my kids. And I was talking to Kristy about it. And it was just really, but I will say Delta did a good job. They put me up in a hotel and they got me to where I needed to go. And I got my bags. So I'll give it that. Now, having said, Robinett is in Michigan, you guys, and she is a revolutionary psychic medium and astrologer. In addition to giving readings and teaching workshops, she uses her psychic skills to assist with the police investigations. I didn't know that. And I think that's really cool that you do this. She lectures across the country and is a frequent media commentator, appearing on the ID channel, Restless Souls, Fox News, ABC News, Coast to Coast, and many more. You know, how did you start to realize that you were an empath?
Oh my gosh, we were talking before and said, boy, I wish I had had that when I was younger, or what, impact it would have on those that were younger to be able to have kind of a handbook to it. Because a
Mhm.
lot of people don't understand what an empath is and what empathy is. And I did not know the term for a long, long time. I mean, I was a psychic medium since I was 3 years old, and that I fought against, but I was just told I was too sensitive. So I was made to believe that who I was, to the core of who I was something that needed to be changed, not to be developed and to be healed. And that other people that were uncomfortable with me being too sensitive, that it was their problem, not a my problem. And so it took me a long, long time. I was working corporate world. I was in narcissistic relationships continuously, going, what's wrong with me?
I
There's got to be
know.
something wrong. I went to therapy. I was in this self-help, you know, series of my life. And yeah, I probably needed all of that and it all helped. However, I wasn't finding my people either.
Right.
So it wasn't until I found a metaphysical center And I felt like we were a group of misfits that were
Right.
all told that we were, weird or that we were strange. And I realized that the weirdos were my people and that it wasn't weird at all.
Right.
And it was really great to start to talk to people that understood. And then, like law of attraction, like attracts like, I
Mhm.
started to meet other people that were like me in in my corporate world, in my regular world. I didn't have to go to a metaphysical center. And I met my now husband. And when you have someone that believes in you, no matter who you are and what you say, and the craziness of traipsing through fields looking for dead bodies with police,
Yeah.
and they're like, okay, that's what we're doing for the weekend, you grow.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah. I have to say, everything you said hits home with me completely. I've always been told I was oh, you know what? You need to buck up a little bit. You just need
just
to
get
be a little
tougher
tougher,
skin.
Nancy.
Yeah.
Don't cry, and I cried all, I mean, I read your book. I'm like, oh, yeah. And what's cool about this book, and I just want to say really quickly, is she goes through the different types of empaths that there are. And I want to talk about that today. Let me rewind. There are so many people who are empaths and don't know what they are. I
Right.
was on the phone. I'll tell you mine really quick. I'm very psychic, always been just like you, very intuitive, clear cognizance. I didn't realize until I picked up that this girl was around my husband, that my husband was cheating on me. And then my friend, who was a psychic, she said, well, you're seeing it because you're an empath. But I never knew what it was called.
Right.
Okay. Because when you're an empath, and I want you to talk about this, you pick up the energy of the person. So if somebody, and what happened to me was a really sad situation because it was heartbreaking, broke my heart. But what I learned was how empathic I really am, because I could feel the energy and I could actually see that person. So I didn't want to see it. Okay. Let's talk about
Right.
that part.
It,
You
it
don't
feels like a
want,
curse.
it is a curse. So talk about this a little bit, because it was a hard lesson. It was hard for me to learn how empathic I am and how psychic I am. And like because yeah, yeah.
I had a similar situation. So say not to be like me too, but me too, and then
Mhm.
you have, your spouse going, I'm not cheating. What are you talking about? You're
Oh
crazy.
yeah, you're crazy.
And you're crazy. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I'm not, because I feel it. I feel it in my bones.
You
And
could,
you
yeah.
want the validation. So an empath, and a lot of people don't understand this because they think an empath is the woo-woo, who's the psychic and who's all clairvoyant and who's got the crystals, and that can be that, but there's different categories of being an empath, and not all of them are sensitive like you and I are. Some of them
Mhm.
are very tough, but they've been a product of their environment, or they've had the training that has developed them not into being the ball of tears that I am.
And
I
that
am the
we are.
one
Yeah.
that cries like all the time.
All right, let's
So
talk about these others, because there's lots of them, and I want to talk about different things in your book. Got to go to commercial break. I want to use this for the podcast. You guys, I'm here today with Kristy Robinett. Her book is Embrace Your Empathy. It's going to come out, I believe, February 8th. Is that right?
yes,
All right.
yes.
This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we will be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and this is High Road to Humanity. And I'm here today with Kristy Robinett. Her book is Embrace Your Empathy. We're talking about different kinds of empaths. I didn't really know that there were so many different kinds of empaths. She goes over them here in the book. Do you want there's a physical empath, there's an emotional empath,
Right.
there's an intuitive dream empath, there's an earth empath, and an animal empath. And I know, you're going to laugh at me. I'm like, which one am I?
All of them.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you can be. You don't have to be one or the other. You can be this one or that one, or all of them.
Yeah.
There's not a one size fits all
Talk
with
about this. Yeah.
who we are.
Right.
So, and I think a lot of people think of the intuitive empath, as being the empath. And an intuitive empath is the one that's very clairvoyant. They pick up a lot of information. They walk into a room and it's like a movie screen that's going on in their mind's eye, and they're picking up all that information. That's why they're also a dream empath, because some of that info can come through in a dream state if they're fighting it from their own physical, and sensing that. Then we've got the physical empath. I unfortunately think that's the most difficult because I feel things.
That's
So
what
if
you
I've
are.
got somebody with, I'm all of them too.
Okay.
If I've
Because
got
I
somebody
feel
with,
it. Okay. All right.
I'm all of them. In fact, I say it in the book. I'm like, I sound like I like want to be like the star. I apologize. I'm all of them. But, so somebody who's in front of me that has cancer, I'll feel that cancer. So a lot of people that are the physical empaths, they go into the medical field, or they go into physical therapy, or they go into, something aligned, and they don't realize, but it's that intuitive nudge, and they kind of cross too, where they sort of blend together. And then we've got the emotional empath. That's the crying part of it, where you all of a sudden feel like crying, but you don't know why you feel so
Right.
emotional.
Right.
And it's because you're carrying other people's stuff, or they're handing it to you and you don't even realize it because you're the caregiver.
And that's the hard
And
part about being an empath. I want to say that even through Zoom, I pick up the energy, and I've had to really,
yeah,
we're going to talk about protection, but I just want to interject really quick. It doesn't matter. You can be on the phone, you can be on
sure.
Zoom. You guys, that's how you pick up the energy. And we're going to talk about protection because it can totally impact you.
It can be through text, it can be through a television screen. And in this crazy pandemic that we've been in, people who don't realize that they're as empathic as they are picking up all of this negative energy, and it mutates into more negativity unless you protect yourself or you have a cleansing, ritual. And that doesn't have to be so woo woo either. A lot of people
Right.
think, oh, I got to sit there for an hour with singing bowls and, chanting something. And you can if you want to, but you don't have to.
Right.
So there's weather empaths, and those are the ones that feel a storm coming on. They feel it, and sometimes they feel it physically as
Yeah.
well. It might
Yeah.
not just be like, man, I think the weather person's wrong, and we're going to get a huge snowstorm, or there's going to be a
No.
tornado. It can
Yes.
be in
My
many different
knee. It's
ways.
my knee. As soon as I can tell you, I can tell you when the storm is coming. You can too, can't you?
I can.
I
I
know.
tend to feel a lot in my gut. So I have a lot of
Okay.
stomach. We all have weak parts. Part of it's astrological too. So every astrological sign has their own weak spot of their
Right.
physical body. But
Right.
then our own unique, self has that too. And when I teach psychic classes or even empath classes, I say, let's find your spot. It might be you're super excited and you feel that airiness in your head, or have you ever gotten, this sounds disgusting, but you've gotten so excited that you're like, I have to run to the bathroom and have like the best bowel movement of like the month, so they just feel like they've got this release from it.
Okay.
Sometimes
Okay.
that's also a positive. A
Okay.
negative is that, that tense side.
Right.
Animal empaths, that's sort of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
We are the house. My husband is definitely this. I am too, but he is Snow White. So we have every animal that will show up at our house, including my office. One time I looked out the window and there was a horse.
Oh,
And like
Lord.
I have like a real horse, not a
Right.
psychic, like
No,
a
a
real
horse.
horse.
Yeah.
They find us.
Yeah, they
And
do.
so that's a
I love
psychic,
it. I love
empath.
it. I love
And
it.
it's earth empaths, a lot of them will go into landscaping or environmental, or wanting to heal, the planet in some way. And a lot of times, again, people are like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life, or I don't
Right.
know, where I'm supposed to go, or I'm having an identity crisis. No, you're not.
Right.
Just listen to the things that you excite you,
Right.
and it will spotlight which empath you are. And in the book, it will tell you what maybe occupations you should look at, or look at a pet rescue,
Well,
or
as you're saying this, you're going to crack up. I'm a real estate broker and I sell land. I used to
oh, so
sell.
you're definitely,
So in the
an earth.
beginning, and yeah, in the beginning, I sold houses, but I gravitated towards land. I was like one of the first people like 20 years ago that would like specialized in land. And I still sell land to this day. And
I
I will
love
say
that.
this, I will tell you this, and I bless the land. So people ask me. So if you guys go to my website, nancyarrell.com, and I will bless the land for you. But it's my energy when I go stand on the land that
Yes.
changes the dynamic. And that's why usually my stuff sells pretty good as long as I go stand on it. And
Well, you're
it's
putting the good energy into it for sure.
So I wanted to say that you were talking about different, and I'm like, oh my God, truly one of the best books I've ever picked up.
Thank you.
And I said this twice now because there's so much in here. I got to read something. This really hit home with me. I hope you don't mind. It's just, wow.
Not at all.
This is the beginning of the book, you guys. Listen to this. Feeling all the feelings. Once upon a time, there was a girl with long blonde hair and blue-green eyes. You could look at her a certain way, and she'd either swell with joy or crumble into sadness. She lived in a house filled with heavy emotions. The world around her was weighted and worn, and she carried it all as if it were her job to do so. She was both untaught and unable to take the time to feel her own feelings because she was so busy cleaning up the emotional mess others carelessly left behind. Before she could even find herself, she lost herself. Growing up, everyone tried to change her, tell her to tighten up or to toughen up and to stop being so sensitive. She always felt different. She felt alone. She daydreamed of a place where she was accepted and understood. It wouldn't be until several decades later that she realized she wasn't flawed at all. She was an empath. There were techniques she could learn to not absorb so much while still staying true to who she was. She discovered she wasn't defective. She was gifted. That girl was me. And if you're reading this, it's likely you as well. Wow. That hit home, girlfriend.
And I think for a lot of people, it does. A lot of people who are empaths lived in trauma
Yes. Yeah,
in
my
some
mom
way,
was a
shape, or form.
narcissist. Yeah, my mom was a narcissist. And we're attracted to narcissistic people because we always try to fix everybody.
We are the fixer-uppers. We are the caregivers. And that I don't want anybody to say, well, are you trying to take that away from the gift of empathy? Absolutely not. But it's also teaching that you are not supposed to fix. You can hand the tools, you can assist, but most narcissists or toxic people, they don't want to be fixed. They want to be like a fire and just crumble everything around them. And empaths need to start learning that.
And
So they stop
boundaries.
attracting that.
Yes. And
Yes.
so I've learned, and this is what she talks about in the book. This is so cool. She talks about the traits of an empath, but she also talks about things empaths love. You talk about the negativities of being an empath. You talk about
Right.
the dangers of being an empath. And that's one of the dangers, actually, until you realize you're an empath. I just want to say this because I feel so strongly about it. Once you realize, like, now I've realized, right? So now I have boundaries.
Right.
And now I see, I go, oh, because we're so loving and we're so nice and we're so kind, and we don't even realize a lot of times we're being railroaded till like way after. And then we're like, oh, yeah.
Bulldoze.
Talk about some of it because you can be healthier. You can create boundaries. You say create boundaries. You say know what you can control, have a purpose. Start moving, start doing exercises. There's a lot of different things we can do.
A lot of self-care. And I get a lot of excuses like if it were that easy or, the buts and the, what ifs and you don't understand. And no, I do understand. It's why, one, I wrote this book because although it's not a one size fits all, it definitely, there are, if you are going through this, somebody else has gone through it too.
Yeah.
And somebody else has either been shattered from it or they've healed from it. And I want to have these empaths I want them to understand, but I want them to prosper. I want them to be abundant in all different things. There's a chapter specifically on love. It just talks about love and it talks about narcissism. There's another chapter with regards to parenting an empath and how to deal with that.
Yes. And I got to say, I wanted to commend you because you're the first person I've seen to adjust children. Because I have a grandson who's an empath. I know he is because my
And
daughter's an
not
empath.
everybody is an empath. So
Right.
not everybody knows
What to
how to deal.
do.
If my
Yeah.
mom and dad understood, they probably wouldn't have read the book. But if they would have understood that, you know, they couldn't utilize the same behavioral patterns that they were trying to use with my brother and my sister, that it wasn't going to work, I couldn't be parented the same way, then quite possibly I might not have been so damaged,
Right.
through everything. Now,
Right.
my mom was also a narcissist. My mom also had mental health issues. I talk about it in the book. She went to a mental facility. So I just assumed that eventually I would also go to a mental facility.
I know. I
And
read that.
she was an empath, though. She was just very, very, she was of the time where they really had to toughen up, and they utilized horrible means of trying to get that empathy out of people with shock therapy
I
and
know. I know.
experimental. It was terrible.
Let's go to commercial break. I want to talk some more about this. Yeah, because I did read that about your mother, and that is a really, it was just a sign of the times. They didn't recognize who we were. Let's talk about that more when
Right.
we come back. You guys, I'm here today with Kristy Robinett. Her book is Embrace Your Empathy. It's coming out on February 8th. This is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Nancy Yearout. This is High Road to Humanity, and I'm here today with Kristy Robinett, and we are talking about empaths. I wanted to say a little bit more about, it's weird. There are so many empaths right here on the planet. You were talking about your mom being a narcissist, yet she was an empath, but they didn't understand her. No one's ever really understood me. I didn't understand myself until I finally figured out I was an empath. And that's why, and that there was nothing wrong with me. But, I feel like, and I want to get your take on this. I feel like intuitively, in fact, I know this, there are so many of us here right now. The empaths are here. There is a reason we're all here, I feel, because we are here to help raise the vibration of the planet for the ascension. If we weren't, because we're to be the examples, to be the empathics. I want you to talk a little bit about that. Do you agree with that?
Completely agree. I think that we filter so much in and we take so much in, but we're really doing a service to the planet, to the next humankind, to Mother Earth, to our children and our grandchildren and great grandchildren, etc. And I don't want to say that we're the sacrificial lambs. Some days it feels like it,
Yeah.
but there is an opportunity for us to help with that awakening and to help with that ascension. And it makes me almost want to cry because I know that a lot of people have had to suffer and they have sacrificed, for it. But I also believe there's a healthy way to do it. And we don't have to be filled with as much pain as a lot of the empaths and a lot of the intuitives believe that we have to be. I think that that's a misconception.
I agree. I agree. I have learned to put up boundaries. You say in the book, say no. I agreed with
Say
all of
no.
these. You're
Yeah.
like, say no. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's one of them. Embrace holistic practices, which when you connect and meditate, you guys, that's huge. You say exercise outside. You say stomp it out. Talk about that. Tell the audience what that is.
Stomp it out. I being little, that was one of the things when I felt that heavy presence, I would stomp and I would jump up and down. And my dad always thought it was really funny. And he'd say, jump higher, Kristy, stomp harder. And it would make me mad. And I would do it more because I was trying to get the excess energy out. But just like a child having a temper tantrum, we're allowed to feel all of the feelings. We've been told not to for so
Right.
long.
Right.
We're allowed to feel all of that, but we're not supposed to carry all of that either. So stomping it out is great. I was a percussionist when I was younger, and that's that same, pounding on the drums,
Okay.
or,
Okay.
you don't have to, again, go into that quiet meditation. There's like swear yoga. There's where you throw things at the wall. Like, you don't have to be so, peace and love and
Well,
dove. You can
rewind.
throw an axe if you want to, not at somebody, but
Well, rewind a little bit. You went through stuff where you had a relationship where somebody was not honest. And I had that too. And it took me a year. I will say this, a whole year, to get past it, because in one way, we can tell if someone is lying. We can.
Oh my gosh, we are the human lie detectors.
We are. And I want people to understand that you can't lie to me, because I know. But the worst is, I think, for a psychic empath like us, and I want to know how you handled it, because I think the worst thing for me was to be lied to. If you just told me the truth, it would have been better. But when you lie to me, it was the worst thing you could do.
It is like you physically took a knife and sliced me in the face.
Yeah. And so, I mean, what I did, and I want you to tell the audience what you did to get past it. I just really connected to God and started doing my prayers. Journaling has been a phenomenal thing for me. And because you get all your,
Right.
I tell God everything. Hey,
Good,
did
the
you know
bad,
this?
and the ugly.
Yeah. And so, and you
he's like,
talk,
yeah, I know
yeah,
this, but
yeah. And you don't want to be bitter, and you don't
Right.
want to hold on to it. And so you got to ho'oponopono them, that whole thing. So, I
Right.
mean, but it took time. Did you have that same thing?
I had a weird thing, and it's actually what aligned me to my path is I went to my minister. I was raised Lutheran, and I went to my minister. And when my divorce was going through, I had hidden my psychic abilities because my ex hated it.
Mine
He
too.
hated that I knew when he was lying,
Mine too. Mhm.
And so I went to my minister and I'm like, I see things, I feel things, take it away, give me an exorcism, do something. And I ended up giving him my first reading. And I ended up bringing through a son of his that had passed in a drowning accident that nobody in the parish knew existed. And he had carried that guilt with him all those years because it was on his watch. His wife had
Now
been
I
gone
have
for the
chills.
weekend.
Oh my
And
God.
so this person that was on the pulpit preaching, this is evil. This is, you shouldn't be doing this. He handed me a business card of somebody and said, he's a medium. He's also another Lutheran minister. And I think that you need to talk to him. And I think you need to quit your job and do this full time. And I went, wait, what? So I wanted like counseling for divorce, and he gave me career counseling.
That's right.
And so I ended up getting a closer relationship with God, closer
Me too.
as I embraced who I was
Yes.
than when I was going to church 7 days a week in parochial school.
Right on. Isn't it funny? So I just want to say that sometimes these tragedies bring you closer to the divine. And God, that is so wonderful.
Absolutely.
Now,
I think that we sometimes get crap that's handed to us.
mhm.
And we do the, oh, woe is me. And like I said, nobody's ever been through this. And guess what? God is making room for better.
Mhm.
He just
Absolutely.
is.
Absolutely. And, and it changed you as a person.
Absolutely. Yeah. I
You're a
would not
whole different
be
person.
having a dozen books
You would have
and on the
never written this.
best-selling list. I would have never
Yeah.
written that. No, no. I
Isn't
wouldn't
that
be in my
crazy?
farmhouse that I love and a
Yeah.
husband that I adore. I wouldn't be here.
Right. You had
I
to
would
go
not be
through.
here.
Right. So sometimes, you guys, I just want to say, you have to go through the tough times to kind of find yourself. And the biggest thing you can do, and I just want to say this, is to connect with God. You can call it divine, you can call it spirit, you can call it whatever you want. I call him God. I believe there is a higher vibration, and I connect every day, and it changes your life and it changes everything. And I just want to say that because I feel so much. How did you get into helping the police? How did all of that come about? I want to talk. We were at 5 minutes before we got to go to break. Tell me about this.
Quick story. So I was 8 years old. My grandfather was my person, and he was tragically murdered.
Oh,
A couple weeks after his passing, I was at a mall and I had an attempted kidnapping. My grandfather in spirit saved my life. They believe that that was the Oakland County killer that was in Michigan that was trying to take me.
oh my
Um,
God.
I then turned
I
to
remember
this.
that, by the way, because I'm from Michigan and I lived there at the time. That's really weird. Okay, go ahead.
So this was, I'm like 7, 8 years old at the time. And not that I freaked my parents out anyway, but now I turned to reading true crime books, and I was training myself unknowingly of utilizing the psychic gifts with regards to true crime. After my minister gave me the business card to go, seek out this other psychic medium, it ended up that the place that he was working out of was across from a police station, and the policemen would come over and hand cold cases and not cold cases. And they said, hey, do you want to try? And I said, sure. And so it ended up that I was pretty good at it. Word got around and I started working worldwide with police departments on a voluntary basis, non-paid, completely non-paid.
Okay. Okay.
And I only take a few a year because it's very heavy. So I traveled around worldwide helping
Wow.
find closure, if we can even call it that, for families of missing persons. And thankfully, there were some cases where the people were alive, but most of them were tragic, and some were really scary. I ended up at one point being almost the victim during one of the situations. So it was almost like something I felt like I had to give back. My grandpa saved me from this situation, and I was
Right.
supposed to give back to everybody else.
Wow. That's incredible. Is there one story that you're able to tell us to talk about that
There was a
sticks
young
with you?
girl. Oh, there's a lot, but there was a young girl. Her name was
Okay.
Ashley, and she ended up coming to me in spirit and
Okay.
saying, I've been killed and my mom is having a hard time and you need to find me and put me to rest." And
Mm.
I never contacted the police, but she would not leave me alone in spirit, and I contacted the police. They gave me permission to talk to Crime Stoppers, who then set up a meeting with the family. It took about 2 years, but I went to where she said she was buried, in a state in a city that I had never been to, and stuck a branch in the ground, and I said, "Okay, dig." And they said, "We
She was
can't, this is
there.
private property." And
Um,
so it ended up, that was one of the cases where I ended up almost getting killed by the person because media was there. They brought it up. This psychic thinks she knows where she is. This is where it is.
oh, they were going to
It
kill you
was,
because you knew where it was.
they killed everyone associated with the case, pretty much. They
Oh my
bulldozed everybody.
God. Oh my God.
So then the police were not happy because then they had to keep an eye on me. He is now serving 2 life sentences because he ended up killing more people. Did not serve a life sentence for the person that he originally killed, though. But she was found. She was put to rest. Her mom unfortunately passed before she was found. I'm still friends with the rest of the family. It was just such a tragic case.
So do you still do it, or have you?
I do. I take only a few a year because and I don't ever contact any of the police anymore. So they contact me and
You.
say, "Hey,
Yeah.
Kristy, can you look at this file?" And sometimes I
Mhm.
hear back from them, sometimes I don't. My son's a law enforcement officer now
Oh,
because he
well.
grew up with seeing me work
Oh
these
my gosh,
cases.
that's so
And so full
interesting.
circle.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. All right, we got to go to commercial break, you guys. I'm here today with Kristy Robinett. Her book is Embrace Your Empathy, Make Sensitivity Your Strength. This is Nancy You're Out. This is High Road to Humanity, and we'll be right back. Hi, this is Nancy You're Out, and this is High Road to Humanity. I'm here today with Kristy Robinett. Her book is Embrace Your Empathy. I don't know why I'm having trouble saying that today.
That's right.
She's an empath, and we're talking about what it's like to be an empath, how to protect ourselves, how we should put up boundaries. I just want to say this. In the beginning, I used to put white light around myself. I knew when I was younger to bubble myself and my kids when we went places.
Right.
Now, as I've become more out there, I guess I've had to protect myself more. So talk to us about what we can do to protect ourselves.
Well, the one thing that I love about the book, I love about my book that I wrote. That sounds so narcissistic too. I love my book. But the one thing that I like with it is I included in the end of each chapter different protection, different meditations, different essential oils, different crystals that are connected straight to that empath that is supposed to help. And some of the meditations are honestly protection. It is not necessarily, if you feel uncomfortable with the idea of prayer, but sometimes it is a prayer. Sometimes it is asking Archangel Michael to vacuum up all of the excess so that you're not carrying that heavy burden of the stones of energy that everyone's been giving to you. So the white light works really, really well. Another one that I really like, and I don't know if I have it in the book, but is creating a ball of all of your excess energy that everyone's given to you and physically throwing it. You think of those weighted balls, those
Okay.
medicine balls,
Okay.
that is what we're carrying around, and just hold it and put
but
into it everything that, I'm angry about this. This person hurt my feelings.
okay, just
I
like
didn't
go
offer
like
this.
this.
Like,
Okay.
just
Okay.
just go like this and it makes it all
Well,
better. And
because
then
you have
throw
this
it.
thing where you get it off of you too. You know what I mean? So there's a
I wash
couple.
it off.
Yeah, I read that in your book too. And I used to do that and I stopped doing it. I forgot. Sometimes we forget to
Oh,
do it, practice what
I
we
do
preach.
that. I taught my kids to do that too. And it's interesting because we'll be in, say, like an event, and there'll be somebody icky that I don't really like. Or I'll watch my kids, when they were in school, and I'll see them do this instinctively. And it's like you're not even aware, but you're like, I'm not going to collect this person's energy. I'm going to wipe this off. And the more that you do that, and the more that you train yourself that you're not going to connect to that energy, the more that it becomes muscle memory. And
Okay.
it helps you create those boundaries
That's
as
really good.
well.
Yeah. No, that's really good.
You can have an amulet, like some people like to wear a cross, some people
Mhm,
like to wear a crystal.
mhm.
But the thing with that is it's like a filter, a furnace filter. It gets clogged up. So make sure that you're, cleansing it. And you can cleanse your area. You don't have to use white sage. You can use bay leaves. You can use lavender. You can use rose petals. You can light a candle. There's no one way, but there's so many ways.
There's so many ways. Yeah. Now I'm big on the salt bath because I feel
Love
like this.
salt baths.
Yeah, I feel like it gets attached to me and then I get it off that way. Also, I carry those little, I don't have them today, but I have them right here. I ordered these, you're going to crack up. And I put little salt packets in my pockets when I go out into the world. What?
I like that. You know what else I really like? I don't know if it's in the book either, but the
What?
reflective tape. So you can put a piece of reflective
What?
tape on your bra, and that reflects the energy off as well.
I do that with my neighbors. I have a mirror that I put on the
Yes.
wall. You guys are going to crack up.
Yeah.
And I send the energy back to them.
That's why gazing balls were created. Those garden balls. That's
Yeah.
actually the reason why. Or you'll wear the Turkish eyes. I've got,
Oh,
the third eye earrings.
I've never
I'll
seen
wear that
those.
in some fashion. So whether it's a necklace, I have one hanging on my mailbox. So it keeps somebody off my property.
So where do
And
you
all my
get, so
kids
wait,
have it.
these are little third eye. Where do you get the, where?
Yeah. eBay,
Anywhere.
Amazon. This is actually Vera Wang. Like,
Oh
these
my
earrings
God.
are
And
Vera
they're
Wang
third eye
holes.
earrings. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. So it's like the evil eye. It keeps
It
negative
keeps,
energy
oh my
away.
gosh.
So there's
Okay.
so many different ways, but the rinse off is probably the wipe off is
Is the
probably
best.
my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. And I read that in the book and I was like, yeah, because I used to do the white light around me and it's not
Yeah.
enough. So I've had to buff it up a little bit.
Well, you can add a different light to it too. So maybe white, even though that's all of the light, you can go with a violet flame. You can go with that purple light, and that will
Mhm.
help. Or you can, like a snowsuit, you can amp it up like puffaloff and like step into like this great big puffaloff
That's
suit.
good. Oh my gosh, I'm losing you there for a second. I don't know why. Well, there are so many different things that we can do. And you guys, I just want to say that through the book, I mean, she talks about so many different things. She does a chapter, and I want to mention this on each type of empath. So there's a chapter on the physical empath. There's a chapter on the emotional empath. Is there another story maybe that you'd like to share with us? Well, I've got you here for a few more minutes today that would help some empaths, things that, I don't know, something that would help the audience out there, maybe.
I think that in general, just knowing that you're not alone, is really something, and that we don't understand what everybody else's story is. I talk about a story in there about a corporate bully that I had. I
Yes,
was
I
at a
read that.
job,
Tell that story.
and
Tell that.
he was just a jerk. Like, he was just like the typical corporate bully that, was backstabbing, wanted, all of the attention. And he was one of the main reasons why I left. And years later, I look at my schedule and I just look at first names. I don't look at last names. And
Mhm.
his name was Todd, and I have a pretty 50-50 clientele, male, female. And I'm like, not a big thing. But then I saw him and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the corporate bully. this is the
He made an
person.
appointment with you
He
to
made an
see you as a
appointment with
psychic.
me, but he didn't know it was me because my last name had changed. I had gotten married. I had changed my hair color. And he did not know, he did not recognize me. And he was having problems in his life that made me really think of, I did not know, I did not recognize, even as an empath, it was all about me and all of the negativity that I was experiencing, instead of realizing that he was going through something and he was acting the way he was because of whatever was going on in his life. I ended up, having this confessional and telling him, by the way, this is who I am. And I want to thank you, because if it weren't for him, I would not have quit that job. And I wouldn't have, like we said before, all of the dots connected, and he was part of it. He felt terrible about it. I've stayed in contact with him for years later, and it really changed his life because he has become so much more holistic in the way he approaches people. And he calls himself, a former, jerk, uses another word.
Yeah, I hear
But
you.
it is where they can be, like we talked about, narcissists can also be empaths, but they're so angry about being so sensitive that they've built a wall around themselves. So I always say give people chances, but not too many chances.
I want to talk about that a little bit. It's funny you would bring that up. I always put myself out there. The audience knows it's okay. When I was younger, I was angry. I can remember there was a long period of time I went through. I was really angry because, you get like that. Because what happens is, you guys, and an empath, is when someone is mean to us or they say something, we take it so seriously. We take it to heart. And until you learn that it's not, how can I say this? You got to not toughen up, but like you said, learn where it's coming from. Does that make sense? A little bit. Did you freeze here on me? I think she froze on me, you guys. But anyway, that happens to a lot of us out here. Are you there? Robin, did we lose you? Oh no, we lost her. Oh no. Are you back? There you are. It's okay. Can you hear me? Okay, I can't hear you. Oh no. We lost Kristy. We lost Kristy here, you guys. Oh my gosh. Let's see if we can get her back here. Got to unmute. Unmute. There you go. Are you there? Hello.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anything. Absolutely not. Spirit's playing with us. Someone is messing with us.
Oh, well, okay. So we got 3 minutes. Who's messing with us out there? We'll send you some white light.
Gosh, crazy. So I missed your story.
Well, no, I was just telling that when I was younger, I was angry, like you talk about, like you were just saying, because when you're an empath for a long time and you take everything so seriously and you don't realize that, and other people don't, and you don't understand, and you think there's something wrong, but there's not. It's just that we are very empathetic. And what you learn over time is what I was saying, like, you learned is it's not, you learn how to put up boundaries and you don't take everything so seriously. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, I think that everybody has their own way of dealing with what they're dealing with. And a lot of it, honestly, is the way that we're raised.
Yeah.
But then there's also the core of who we are, because not to get into too much weirdness, but some people are old souls. And
Yes.
some people are reincarnated.
Yes.
And so they've also got the product of their upbringing or their spirituality from a past as well. And they're bringing that into this and they're thinking that it's going to fit. And it doesn't.
I know.
And then they're all upset and then they act some sort of way and have expectations that make them feel defeated.
Right.
And so often, people, I think that's what really trips people up, and empaths, so much so, is the expectations. They put so much expectation on themselves and they put so much expectation on the reaction of another person. And then when they don't get that validation, they feel sore. And then
True.
they feel like they're less than themselves. And it has nothing to, it's apples and oranges. It has nothing to do with nothing.
Right. I guess the biggest thing I want people to realize is empaths are completely different. They really are than other people.
They're special. You
Yes.
said, yes, it's a curse. And I talk about it in the book over and over because for so long I thought it was a curse. And I really do think that there are many blessings connected to being an empath. And there's an ability to help heal this world, not necessarily heal everybody, because again, that's an unrealistic
I
expectation.
know. We want to heal everybody. It's true. It's true.
Not
I
going to
know.
happen. But even if you impacted one person in your lifetime, that is something that you've completed your mission. And we just want to help millions of people.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm so glad you came today. You guys, it's Kristy Robinett. The book is Embrace Your Empathy. You guys got to pick it up. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it.
I'm excited that it comes out right at Valentine's Day too, because I think it's such a gift for yourself. The book is, I think it's such a gift for, other people, even if it's those that like, hey, I know you don't understand me, but here is who I am. Like, here's a handbook of who I am. And hopefully we can better connect in our relationships, whatever that might be.
That's fantastic. Oh, I'm so glad you came today. Hey, guys, and if you want a psychic reading, go to my website, nancyyearout.com, and just click on the book button, and you can book your date and time with me. You guys, I'm going to get out of here for today, but thanks so much again, Kristy. And you guys, everybody take care, and God bless.
Connect the dots and keep the motion. Can achieve your goal. Let's hit the high road.
Hey, you guys, join me next week on The High Road for more stories filled with wisdom, love, and hope for our future. Have a fabulous week, and know that by staying on the high road, you will make it to your destination. Visit my website, nancyyearout.com, where you can book a private session to learn how to tap into your own abilities. And check out my YouTube channel. It's Nancy Yearout's High Road to Humanity.
You can achieve your goal.